1474. Hold on. Good morning. You're live, KTIB.
Good morning, Jay. This is Tidbits.
Good morning, Mr. Tidbits.
Hey,
how are you?
It's Willie Troops' 77th birthday today. He stood in my wedding on this day. I saw 53rd anniversary today, and Willie Troops' 77th birthday.
Willie Troops, absolutely. 77, and
yeah, we're married on his birthday.
Well, I'll be darned.
53 for us, and I won't say it again, but Willie Troops, you know, KTIB-AM fame.
Absolutely.
You know? Sure, huh?
I'll be darned.
Okay.
And your anniversary.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Willie. Good job. Thank you. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Gibbens Robichaux, happy anniversary. Mr. Willie Troops, happy anniversary, happy birthday, 77 years old. Lafourche Parish Public Library is celebrating its 60th anniversary. During the month of May, every branch has compiled an exhibition of pictures and information spanning the past 60 years. In addition to the tiny wood frame structures that served in some areas, there was also pictures of the bookmobile history of the library. Well, I remember the bookmobile well. Rare photos from the State Library of Louisiana and those taken through the years by staff and the media are featured. Each branch has a pictorial history of the libraries and bookmobiles in the communities they serve. Many of these pictures are in stark contrast to the beautiful modern buildings that now provide state-of-the-art library services. So go by the library. I've got a 60th anniversary, and it's full of pictures that span the last 60 years of the library. Blue Star Mothers of Louisiana, sponsoring, of course, they're doing care packages for troops overseas. If you want to help with that, you can donate items. That's 447-5200 is the number to call. Homemade oatmeal cookies. The Bon Terre Garden Fair, Southdown Plantation, Homa's second annual celebration for garden enthusiasts. That's Saturday, May the 5th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Gate admission is $3. Children under 12 free. Advanced tickets are $2. There'll be expert speakers and demonstrations. There'll be vendors. There'll be a plant disease clinic, soil test station, garden-themed art show, kids' hands-on activities, museum tours, food, and much more. Garden Fair event, Southdown Plantation, 1208 Museum Drive, sponsored by the Terrebonne Historical and Cultural Society, LSU Ag Center, and the Louisiana Master Gardeners. Paul Leslie, welcome to the program.
Well, Gene, I'm happy to be here. It just seems like the last time I walked in here, you
we were doing the same thing.
I had to shake my head and get a few of those.
Deja vu all over again, right?
Deja vu all over again.
You know, Ag Center's always got programs out. They've got Ag Center offshore charters, May 31st, June 1st, leaving out of Port Fourchon. Nothing beats an invigorating day. Fishing in the open water, but you'll be able to participate in some friendly contests that include prizes. This is something that the LSU Ag Center is putting on. It's called, it's out of Port Fourchon, and you can support the Ag Center and the programs of the Extension Service by joining them at Louisiana's finest charter boats at Port Fourchon for good fellowship and exciting fishing on the Gulf. We'll talk a little bit more as we get closer to this. If you're interested, give Bobby Fletcher a call give someone a call at 578, that's 225-578-1938.
Why don't they just call you?
The number is Terry, because I don't have the phone number.
Well,
the number is Terry Bell, 225-578-1938.
I don't even know why I come up here anymore. Hell, you read about 55 minutes.
Well, if you wouldn't have been late, we'd already been talking. You walked in here at 7:15.
Right now. What do you...
Hold on, I got two things, then we're going to get to Laura Valley. Jerome D. Richard got this on the fax this morning. Thibodaux City Council President Jerome D. Richard issues the following statement.
You read all that?
I ain't reading it all. The state of Louisiana is at a critical juncture in its rich and diverse history.
Why don't you run?
I can't. A point where experience, knowledge, and commitment are crucial to the future of the state and her residents. It is vital that the state legislature have good people that can provide leadership and understanding of numerous issues related to the successful operation of state government.
Tell me in that whole announcement, does he say he's honest?
Yeah.
Where
Well, I got to read the whole
that's one
thing. I didn't get there yet.
Politicians never tell you when you run for office that they're honest.
Yeah, we are. Contact
Not
D.
in
Richard.
Louisiana, they don't, because
Let me finish reading it.
most voters would think you're a fool.
447-6033. Also, Michael Mathern, part of the solution. Mathern announces his bid for state representative. Lafourche Parish Councilman Mike Mathern today announced he is a candidate for state representative for Louisiana House District 55. The election is October 20th, 2007.
That's 11 days before Halloween.
Yep. As instructor of university studies and member of the university administration at Nicholls State University, Mathern was elected to the Lafourche Parish Council in 2003 and served as chairman of the council in 2005. He is married to Lisa Block Mathern, and the couple has a 4-year-old daughter.
He's not from here, though. I heard you talking to Bill Hochstetler the other day, talking about people who are, that's one of the, you're not from here. Well,
Bill's from here now. He's been here 27 years.
Well, that's not the way you introduced him. You sit there, well, why did you resettle here? Well, you know,
He's
I was sitting there
home now.
listening, and I said, well, Gene, you're not from here.
No, I'm from St. Charles.
I know.
I'm from right down the
Why
bayou.
did you come? Why did you move into Thibodeau?
Because I had a lot of kids
You
going to
find-
Edie White and St. Joseph's, and I needed a closer ride to get them to school.
Well, Bill had daughters going to Edie White, and he wanted a closer ride.
Sold a car when I moved to town.
Michael Thurn's from Morgan City.
Yeah, but they're
that's-
they're Thibodians now.
That's West
Hang on.
Louisiana.
This is Good Morning KTIB.
He's
What?
35.
35. Thank you. All right. Bye bye.
You make your employees check in on their way to.
No, I almost answered it. This is
That phone will never stop ringing.
Gene. How can I help you? I don't know. Anyway.
I tell
Oh
you,
man.
I mean, with all those buttons you punch up here,
I got him.
I tell you what, this is like Dr. Strangelove.
I got it down too. I got it down pat. I got the order right. I think I can even
Wait a
plug in
second.
commercials now. I think we're gonna try it after a while. I'm not real sure. Anyway, we got Michael Mathern and Jerome D. Richard announced their candidacy for the District 55. Yeah, of course, Warren Trish term limited out. Got to go away.
He didn't have to go away. I think he's moving down to Raceland. He's going to run against, what's his name, from Terrebonne Parish for state senator.
What's his name? Could you be a little specific?
Well, that shows how, well, he's not in my district.
What's that? You got CRM? Can't remember much? What do you,
Mutual admiration there. I'll think of it.
what you think about term limits?
I think they're great.
I hate them.
I think they're great because we need to roll over a lot of these dead politicians up in Baton Rouge. Most of them have IQs of a mule, and as a consequence.
Paul, you got to stop beating around the bush. I mean, you're gonna have to start telling like it is. You know, between you and Moon Griffon, I don't know who's worse. Y'all tap dance around everything. I mean, you got to get with the
Moon
program.
is so far to the right, I can't even see him. So, but
And you being
I'm a moderate,
Yeah.
middle of the road.
Yeah, right.
But no, I think they're great. I think that's the whole thing about democracy, is that people participate. And the more we can get them to participate, the better the system will be. There's no vested requirement that we have people serve in Baton Rouge for 30 and 40 years. I mean, you need new ideas. You need fresh concepts. And as a result, that's what term limits do. I mean, we got term limits on the presidency. You can only serve 2 terms. I mean, Roosevelt served 4 terms, and people got pretty much upset with all of that. And so what about state legislators? We know that they defend us, say, we know the process. We know how to get around the bush. And as a consequence...
Pull that thing up.
And so as a consequence, I think with new people, you have new ideas, you have fresh approach, you have enthusiasm. I think that's the most important thing, rather than sitting back and making behind-the-scenes deals in smoke-filled rooms and scratching my back and scratching your back. There was a state legislator a couple years ago wrote a book in which he said, a man by the name of Ron Gomez.
Hold that thought. Good morning, you're live, KTIB.
Gene,
What?
I understand that Paul just said most of the state legislatures have the IQ of a mule.
He may have said that.
Aren't most of them Democrats?
No, it's almost, now we're getting 40 of them. Well, that's true, too. That's why I
Somebody
said
was
a mule.
paying attention. Good job, Mark. More than a thought, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, most of them are about. It's only about 50%. Republicans are coming in there quick. So
I got somebody covering my back.
well, most of the good ideas we've had in the 20th century came from the Democratic Party.
What?
What idea came from the Republicans?
We didn't even hang on. We didn't go. We didn't go there yet.
Okay, let's go back to Ron Gomez.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, in the state legislature, they had a legislator from Lafayette Parish who was also a lobbyist from the railroads, for the railroads. But the only way that he could get paid every year, this was written in this autobiography by Ron Gomez, the only way that he could get paid is if he did some work for the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And so every year, every session of the legislature, somebody would introduce a bill to abolish the railroads or something of that ridiculous nature. And this legislator would stand up on the floor and start a bombastic display of defense of the railroads and things like this. And the bill would be defeated because everybody knew it was going to be defeated. And then at the end of the session, that legislator could go to the railroad and say, I defended your interest, and pick up his paycheck. Well, we don't need those kind of people in Baton Rouge. I mean, what the biggest problem in Louisiana is there's no concept that participation in politics is a civic duty, that you have a responsibility to participate. There is no reason to pay school board members across the board, period. They don't do anything other than attend a meeting and vote on what the superintendent says. As far as policies and directing new programs in the school system, whatever the superintendent suggests, they generally follow. And they say, well, we have to watch the books. They've got people to watch the books. That should be your donation to the community to improve the quality of education.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Paul. They're not jurors. Jurors serve at the pleasure of the state or the pleasure of the court. They're not jurors.
I'm saying
they're people who elect to serve.
That's right. They're elected, but they should serve as a civic duty. This is because I want to improve the quality of life in Thibodaux. I want to improve the quality of life in Lafourche Parish. Until we start thinking as a parish, this parish will always have north, south, east, west, fighting against each other rather than the community as a whole.
Wait a minute. The parish fighting against each other ain't got nothing to do with whether school board members are paid.
Yes,
it's just like paying why the city council members shouldn't get paid either.
No, they should probably be paid. They're just basic per diem expenses.
That's about what we get. Believe me, you can't make a living on that.
There's a lot of people who serve on the school board simply because they can participate in the retirement system and they get health insurance.
All right, we don't even get that on the council. But let's get back to, first of all, I would throw this out at you. Serving on the school board or serving on like the Thibodaux City Council, you get a nominal, listen to me, a nominal paycheck. It's kind of like being on a board of directors at a bank where they get paid to go to a meeting.
Well, that's a big mistake, too.
Well, I don't think, you know what? Professors at Nichols shouldn't get paid. They ought to do that.
They're not. I mean, you have to take a vow of poverty. I mean, I have to go over there and get my cassock every morning, you know, and wear it to class. I feel like a religious. I mean, where do we have our priorities? We pay, what? You realize in 1992, Louisiana had a public official in New Orleans who was paid based on fees collected by his office. You know how much money he was making? $500,000 a year.
Who was the official?
He, not the important things about, I can't remember the official, but he was an inheritance tax collector in New Orleans, and the state did not know that he was collecting that much money.
$500,000 a year.
He was the highest paid.
I want that job.
I know.
I would definitely want that job.
He was the highest paid public official in the United States. Higher than the president.
$500,000 a year.
And he was a political plum that the governors used. I mean, the governors in Louisiana, I mean, why? I mean, why corporations don't resettle here? Everything's political.
I agree. I agree.
Everything's political. I mean, it's what do corporations say? What do you want? I mean, what do I have to pay? What do I have to do? If they could get the political thing out here and create this concept of civic consciousness where you have a duty to participate in your government, I mean, you'd have better attendance and things like this as far as a lot of these meetings. But most of this is the idea that people anticipate getting paid. But I believe in term limits. Let's go back to where I believe in term limits. The more term limits you have, I think 2 years, 2 terms is it.
I disagree. I think term limits take care of itself by the people that go to the voting machine and pull a lever.
I don't.
I think your term limit.
I don't.
If you don't do your job, you're out of here.
Because what? We're not having people participating in government. Look at Bush. Bush got 50% of the vote. Everybody says 50%, but he really got 30% of the vote. That's all he got, 31. 31% of the vote as far as total registered vote, and he's now, what? He's telling the other 70% what to do. That's the same thing happened in the Civil War. If you really look at the Civil War, 30% of the people told the rest of the South, go out and kill those Yankees because I want to keep my slaves. And so this is the same thing. People don't participate. How do you get people to participate? You get people to participate when they feel like they have an interest in the whole process. And the whole process is by establishing this concept of civic consciousness. I mean, why is the Catholic Church membership dying out? I mean, it's falling off. There's no participation.
Because the people are not being fed, and I'm not going to blame people.
They're not being fed because they don't feel like they're part of the process.
When it comes to religion, people go to where they are being fed spiritually. Then you know as well as I do, there are problems in the church. And when people go to church now, because of certain things, they are not being fed.
They're not being fed, and the fed is this idea of there's an acute awareness that I'm a member of a process. I'm a member of a community. There's no community awareness, and there's no community consciousness. Thibodaux is a great town to have civic consciousness. There's a lot of participation. There ought to be more. I mean, there ought to be people there as far as the school boards and things like this. Some of these things that go on. I mean, that's why the whole charter movement is flourishing. I mean, okay, get your Times-Picayune out yesterday morning, look at the left-hand corner. What do they tell you? They tell you down the left-hand corner is that in East New Orleans, if you went to some of these meetings, you think that was Hiroshima. I mean, the way they talk. But listen, what the paper was talking about. In the Vietnamese community, what did they do? That place is bustling.
Yeah, they came back.
Why? Because
they have a work ethic.
No, it's not a work ethic. Read what the words say. They have a sense of community. Everybody pitched in and helped everybody else. And that was triggered by the church. They have a parish priest down there who was energetic. He was a religious leader in the community, and they're getting charter schools.
Let me tell you something. And I understand what you're saying. You could take a bunch of Americans and put them in South Vietnam, and the same thing would have happened. Because birds of a feather flock together. They band together because they're Vietnamese, okay?
Yeah.
And they're a small group outside of a very, very large group.
Hey, they
so
took
you
the
stick.
American dream.
Well, I'm just telling you, the Americans would have done the same thing over there had we been in South Vietnam.
Okay, because they had a conscious.
Because that's right, and we don't have that right here.
We don't have that right here.
We take it for granted.
Why? Because people start to say, I have students at school say, I don't have to worry about a job getting in the school board. I have a friend, my uncle's on the school board. Well, that's not right. You're supposed to compete for that job just like someone else.
Don't you think those days are getting less and less?
Oh, sure.
I haven't heard any of that. I don't, you know.
Why am I supposed to have this all happen when I die? I've been in Thibodaux 40 years. I mean,
where you come from?
You see, that's what I mean. I was waiting for you. 40 years. I've been here longer than most of your listeners.
Where you come from?
Yeah. Like I tell them, I said, when I listened to you the other day, I told my class, you ain't from here. You're from Nova Scotia.
Listeners, don't go away.
Most of you are all immigrants.
Paul.
I said there wasn't anybody here in 1769. There wasn't no person on this bayou.
Pour yourself another cup of coffee. Philip Clement, Scott Saban, Philip Shaw, happy 60th.
Are they all running?
Really? It's their birthdays. I do the same thing for you. Mr. and Mrs. Gibbens Robichaux, happy 53rd. Pour yourself another cup of coffee, listeners. We'll be right back here at Oldie 640 KTIB.
Start making plans now for the first weekend in May. It's the Thibodaux Volunteer Firemen's Fair, and it promises to have something for everyone in the family. Tons of great food, rides for the kids, the big Firemen's Parade on Sunday, the $10,000 raffle, an auction, and best of all, great entertainment. This year, you'll want to bring your lawn chairs and get to the fairgrounds early to enjoy such entertainment as the Chiwis, Little Al, Fats Jackson, Tony Hall and Mahogany Blue, Waylon Thibodaux, the Treater Band, Louisiana LaRue featuring Tab Benoit, just to name a few. And Saturday night, all the way from Australia, the Little River Band. Riverband's now for the Thibodaux Firemen's Fair, the first weekend of May on the fairgrounds, Tiger Drive in Thibodaux.
And welcome back, listeners. 447-6409. Joining this crazy conversation this morning with Paul Leslie. Thibodeau Fireman's Fair coming up in 2 weeks, of course, sponsoring Dialogue this month. Thank you very much to the Thibodeau Volunteer Fire Department. Thank them. I tell you, thank them for all they do for this area and this community. Right. And here's your chance to show it. Get out and support them, not this coming weekend, but next at the fairgrounds. And we'll talk more about that as it gets closer. We're going to have Bill Hostetler. Congratulations to him, the new 2007. Yeah, he's from here. He's been here 27 years. In 3 more years, he's going to be an honorary Cajun, according to Ambrose Landry.
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Honorary.
No, he'd be a real Cajun. Ambrose gave him his certificate 30 years ago, make a long story short, when he came into the area.
It took 30 years.
That says, you are now a Cajun. And Mr. Hostetler said, thank you very much. And Mr. Landry said, look at the date. And it was 2010. Mr. Hostetler says, never thought I'd see the day when I'd become Grand Marshal of the Thibodeau Fireman's Fair before I became a Cajun.
That's a real...
It was a good story. Good story.
That's a real...
Paul Leslie in the house this morning.
Well, there were a lot of people back in the early part of the 19th century, back in the 1830s and 40s. You used to have... Thibodeau used to be an American city before it was an Acadian city, because this is where the Americans
What's the difference?
Huh?
What's the difference? Well,
you're not an American if you can't be both.
Yes, you can. 447-6409.
Not according to some of the people that I've met around here.
Well, first thing you need to do is you need to change your circle of friends. That's your problem. You need to change your circle of friends.
Most of them don't talk too much.
I wonder why.
Down at the
You don't have to get a word in edgewise.
We've already seceded down.
What do? Visit the cemetery? Is that where your friends are?
We go have a courthouse down the Foos Crossing, down in Wagon-Pack. We meet every morning. And
you got the...
we have every problem in the world solved.
Happy birthday to Philip Clement, Scott Sever, Philip Shaw, Willie Toops, Gibbens Robichaux, and Honoré Bourgeois. Man, I tell you what, April, today was a good day for birthday days, huh?
I tell you what,
Must have been something special.
My daughter had hers on Saturday, so...
All right, let's go back to... Why don't you want...
People got nervous about their income tax.
Man, I just got done with all that. Anyway, Mr. No Pay Leslie, why do you think people that serve on boards, that provide a service, and people like serving on it, why do you think they shouldn't be compensated?
Which should they be paid?
Because somehow, it's compensation for your time.
Bernard Baruch was in charge of American industry and the American war effort during World War I. He said, give me $1 a year.
I would be willing to bet that guy was independently wealthy.
That has nothing to do
with it. Heck, it's got everything in the world to do with it.
Why should it have anything to do with it? I think...
Because you got to make a living.
If you care enough about living in America, and you care enough about patriotism and waving the flag, and you have this, "In God We Trust" tattooed on your chest, I think that you have a civic duty. I mean, we use the word, you're enfranchised to vote. So that means you've been empowered to participate. And that's the whole thing about democracy, is participation. If you don't participate, then you get a lot of jackasses in Baton Rouge and elephants. And so as a result...
You heard that, Mark? Got us both this time.
And so as a result... I bet you're not registered as a Republican.
No, I'm not. I'm registered as a Democrat.
So you're a yellow dog Democrat. That's what you are, a yellow dog Democrat.
No,
that's what I tell my classes. Most of these Democrats in Louisiana who don't have backbone enough to go down there and tell them that I'm a Republican. That was the same thing why David Duke, who, flashed Nazi symbols and talked about sending blacks back to Africa and all of this hate. He got 677,000 votes in 1992.
I don't think he'd get that today. I think that was a sign of the times.
800,000 votes today.
I don't think he would. I think that was a sign of the times.
I don't think.
You correct me if I'm wrong.
A lot of them joined the Republican
You correct
Party.
me if I'm wrong. And you can talk about being a Democrat or being a Republican or being an independent or being a nobody or being a somebody or being whoever you want to be.
I could vote for some Republicans.
When you, as far as I'm concerned, you can still vote whoever you want to vote for.
That's right. And
when you pull a curtain, you're allowed to vote for whoever you want to vote for, regardless of who the heck party is. I don't vote party lines. Do you?
I don't know.
Or do you vote?
I do vote. You better believe I vote.
Okay.
I take my family down and I make them vote. I vote a couple times. Earl Long said, give me a voting machine and 2 commissioners and I can make it sing Home Sweet Home. In St. Charles, where you came from, heck, around there, We have a party down there at the voting office. We just vote and vote and vote. It's like what? Huey Long called up Leander Perez during the election.
Vote early and vote often.
1933, and he says, "Stop counting, Leander. We already won." So, I mean, but no, I think you should participate. No, there's voting down St. Charles, very above board and all that. So we don't have any.
I'm glad you corrected that, because that's, that's my
since
family
everybody
down there, and I'm glad
since
you corrected
everybody
that.
who we had trouble with, we sent them into Thibodeau. But no, I don't. I believe. I know it's idealistic. I can live in that world. But in the real world, you have to make deals. Why? Because not everybody feels the same way you do. And so there has to. That's the key word with America's history all the way up to the Civil War, and that's why it failed. Was compromise. You always, I mean, you know, in a marriage, or you know, in anything that you do, you always have to be willing to compromise. And so that's one of the things that we have perfected that. Sometimes we don't make it, but then we have problems. But most of the time in the United States, we have compromise.
Well, the court system compromises. There's a plea cut every day. You know, there's a plea bargain every day that comes out. The whole thing.
It's got to be.
Operates on compromise.
That's what democracy's all
about. You know,
about.
for you to sit there and say board members shouldn't be paid, city council members shouldn't be paid, and telling me it's a civic duty to do it and I pick up a paycheck, I don't think that's right.
You just put compromise in a marriage?
I mean, that's one of the things. But anyway, we're supposed to talk about Laurel Valley. You got a festival.
Compromise in a
He
marriage.
gets 2 to 1, all of a sudden he wants to
I heard
wait.
that one.
Let me kick you on. Go ahead.
I think
He
he's
said
cutting me off
compromise
here.
in a marriage. I think the compromise comes on the female part. It's do what your husband says to do.
Well.
No, I believe that's the compromise is a part of life, and that's wherever you don't have compromise.
You're right.
It is. I mean,
that's what I tell 'em.
volunteer for a board. I sit on a board, a couple
That's
of them
right.
actually. I don't get paid for it.
That's right.
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
know
I don't
going in.
Ask for it.
Hey, look.
You know going in, it's a volunteer
volunteer.
board.
Hey, look.
Exactly.
I've been working in Laurel Valley for 30 years. I don't get paid for that.
Yeah, but you don't need it. That you like the guy with the industry that
I
took
don't
a
know
dollar.
where in the heck you
You
get
know,
that
you-
idea. I don't need it.
Hang on a minute. Good morning. You're live, KTIB.
Hey, gee, my wife compromises all the time. She says, "This is the compromise," and I say, "Yes, dear."
That's about right.
Yeah.
You know, they control everything. You know, I mean, you're right.
Well, wait a minute.
There's certain areas where you just don't.
I serve on that
You don't
board
go.
without pay.
Yeah, you're right. We don't get paid for that board, bud.
Not at all.
That's right.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
But
That would be Mark.
but Laurel
Cullen.
Valley's having a festival this week.
Let's talk. Come on.
Yeah,
All right, we'll
they
get
are.
off all that now. You satisfied? You got your say out? You got your piece out?
What?
I mean, you done arguing now, so we can talk about
You
Laurel
pulled
Valley?
me out of my office.
Yeah, but see, you got 2 to 1, so he goes shut up.
No, compromise. We do a lot of compromising at Laurel Valley as far as things we do. It took us what? We got those trains around 1988, and yesterday we started putting up a fence
Awesome.
around the trains. I mean, we have to, protect people.
them.
And
Yeah.
so we have a house out there. We put a fence around. Everybody's going to ask why. Well, we discovered it the other day. That's got bussiage in the walls, mud and moss.
Uh-huh.
That's the only house out there that's got
Wow.
that. And
That's old time, that.
yeah. Well, you must not be from here talking like that.
Man, I know you
I am
had
too.
honeybees in the walls.
proud
too,
of
but
it.
they're gone.
Yeah, the honeybees are gone, boy.
Yeah, I know
John
they're gone.
LeBlanc, what
Bourgeois.
happened? John
Bourgeois.
got them. John Bourgeois got them, but then they came back.
They're back?
But then there was Hiroshima out there real quick, and they're gone.
You smoked them.
I'm not talking about that. But we got rid of that problem. But now we got some honeybees in the transmission of an
Oh,
old tractor.
Lord.
I mean,
Oh,
those
you're
guys,
kidding.
and
I don't think he can tear that apart. and
those
get to
guys,
them.
those honeybees. I saw a program on TV that
They're a
said,
mess.
that they were disappearing. They ain't
They're
disappearing out
disappearing.
of
Louisiana.
I mean, they're all over the. But
And thank goodness.
I got
because
stung 7 times over there trying to get rid. I mean, they were in my hair.
That's why you think like you think. The bees got to you.
I'm gonna have to find out whether or not there's been a change here. But anyway,
Bees are
festival-
good. That means
chance.
everything's getting pollinated. We
Yeah.
need bees.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have bees.
Well, we're having the festival. We
Oh,
haven't
good.
sent out too much.
Bees and all.
No, the bees aren't going to be around the store. So, but it's going to be from 9 to 4. Have the same thing we've had for the last 30 years.
This coming Saturday?
This coming Saturday. Antique machinery, arts and
right.
crafts, food. and a lot of discussion.
Isn't
a
there
lot of talk.
Round
like
table.
a garage sale on Thursday or
And
something?
there's a garage sale on Saturday.
Saturday. okay.
Saturday morning.
And the date's
That's free.
It's free.
It's a free garage
Just set
sale.
up a booth?
Just set up your table and sell whatever you sell. There's not going to be anybody sitting there, making you pay anything. So we have that, and it's like somebody says. I said it's a community activity. I mean, Laurel Valley is Thibodeau's. It's if you don't have a past, you don't have a community.
That's right.
And that's the significance of Laurel Valley. You can, somebody asked me yesterday, I said, well, what is the importance of Laurel Valley? You can take Laurel Valley from 1783, 84, and tell the history of America.
Exactly.
Through Laurel Valley, as far as the operation of this country. And so that's what the importance of this site is.
You know, and you and I have talked about it before, and Linda has sat here and talked about it, and there are more treasures and more things to see right here. And with gas prices at $2.80, $2.85 a gallon, stay home, stay local. We had the Edie White site had their Art Under the Oaks this past Saturday.
Right.
We were going, unfortunately couldn't make it. We were going to a wedding in north of Crowley, in Richard, by the way, in the heart of Cajun country.
Well, hey, wait a second. Crowley was planted in 1881 by farmers from Iowa.
Okay.
They even have a startup.
What you're telling me is they different?
They're different out there.
Anyway, we passed
They're
there about
prairie Cajuns.
10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and there were gobs and gobs of people, and that's a good thing. And I hope, I was reading the paper yesterday, it looks like they had a very successful day, and I hope the same for Laurel Valley. Laurel Valley is another Edie White. It's another area locally. You know, we take it for granted because we pass there all the time. We pass in front of that place 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Well, the thing is, I think what I hope is that people can see these historic sites and identify the history with the settlement and occupation and the commercial and all this. Now, Edie White was Senior was an interesting politician. Now, you didn't get him mad because he'd pull a knife on you. And he tried to kill his opponent in one debate with a knife. So, I mean, that's
Senior.
The senior, not the judge.
Not the judge, okay.
But the one who became governor. He eventually became governor. But
He pulled a knife?
he sure did. And so, as a consequence, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, if you're gonna teach history, get involved in history. And one of the things I think is very important about identifying this Acadian heritage and using "you're not from here, we're from here" and all that's a historical statement. That's history. That's a way by which you can recall your history, and it's also a way by which you can cut your kids off at the knees and they don't move.
You hear that, Genevieve?
Mom is, well, Genevieve's going to Nichols, so I mean that's. So this is one of those things that I mean, I think it's all a part of the area, and it's part of the flavor. It's what makes life in South Louisiana, kind of unique. I'm not going to say different because everybody's different.
Absolutely. Every community has their own identity.
I mean, if you go over to Laplace, and they're very strong into their German heritage.
Absolutely.
And they really
they're different.
They're different. They're different about their past.
Yep.
And I think you should celebrate that. And that's probably one of the best things about this price of oil going up, is the fact that people are going to stay home, they're going to visit in the area, and there's going to be more community.
Either that or we're going to learn to ride bicycles again.
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
In fact, I saw in the paper yesterday there's some legislators, Republicans and Democrats.
Hello, both of them, Paul.
Both of them are considering an income tax, not an income tax, but a gas tax increase.
Oh, no.
And they're going to use it for roads, right?
Right. Sure. Yeah.
They're going to use it for roads. That's what.
Let me see. The lottery tax, you know.
State highways crumble as list of needs grow. And you're right. The Transportation Department gets its money from a 16-cent tax on diesel, gas and diesel, which consumers pay at the pump. The tax levied in 1984, and the rate has remained unchanged in 23 years.
You pay 32 cents on a gallon in taxes already.
Jennifer Maruska is spokeswoman for the statewide campaign Driving Louisiana Forward, which was devised by businesses and others who advocate for an improved infrastructure. About 6,000 miles, let's see what she says, the tax hasn't kept up with inflation, making the 16-cent tax equivalent to 8 cents in today's dollars. The tax adds up to about $14 million a year, money that must be used to maintain and improve 16,000 miles. That won't even begin.
I mean, that's what Thomas Friedman talks about in his editorials in the paper. So the best way to get at the Saudi Arabians, or the best way to get at the insurgents, is to raise the gas tax, and people really have to consider the thought, am I going to drive today? Am I going to use gas? Because if you don't use gas, they don't have money. I mean, the Saudis are, I mean, that's one of the reasons, I mean, the Bush family is lobbyists for the Saudis. I mean, that's a known fact. But the thing is...
That's not a don't commit. That's not a known fact.
That's a known fact.
No, it's not. No.
That's
I didn't know it.
You see, she didn't know it.
Well, that's because most people don't want to know it. But the thing is that...
See, you drop that stuff and then you expect people to believe all that,
well,
you know?
I tell you what, follow the money. That's what... Follow the money. But the best way to cut this insurgents is cut their funds, and you stop the use of oil. And now they're moving in to grasses. They got prairie grass that's even a better source of ethanol than
corn.
Right. And sugar. And so you won't have the argument there as far as feeding the poor and things like this, the humanitarian concern.
My point has always been, and maybe I'm wrong, we sent people to the moon many moons ago.
It's 69.
We can put people in space. We can do all these great things with technology. We got computer chips the size of you could put a computer on a pinhead. I mean, we've got that kind of technology. And we can't get an internal combustion engine to make good gas mileage? Or we can't devise a new source of powering vehicles? Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
That's right. I mean, go watch the movie Tucker. I mean, here's a guy who came up with all sorts of inventions. And as a consequence, the big three suppressed him. They took him out of operation. I mean, he came up with the lifetime battery long before they ever came on the market. It's what people want, what they demand. I mean, if everybody started buying hybrid cars, I can guarantee you they'd start producing hybrid cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can always watch the sale pages to find out what car is not selling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, by the inducements that the big ones are giving. And so I mean, gas on the West Coast right now is $4 a gallon. And I mean, it's coming. I mean, when you're in Europe, when people are in Europe, they can't, I mean, $5.
Yeah, it's $5. Yeah.
$7 a gallon. And so when Tommy was in Germany, we sent him over a car, which was a mini type of sedan, but he said it looked like a Cadillac on the roads over there. It was bigger than anything they were driving. And so they drive those small cars and things, but everybody feels like they have to have a big SUV or something like this. Maybe it's a power thing. I mean, there's no reason to sell Hummers. I mean, what do Hummers do on the highway? I mean,
suck up fuel.
Suck up fuel. And so we have to, I mean, we're in a process of adjustment. We're adjusting our sites, and we're adjusting our consumer habits and things like this. Now what? People are starting to think green. I mean, green tea, things like this.
Oh, man.
Man, we're right there on the front page. They got organic milk. They're talking about organic milk. If you knew what green tea did to you as far as promoting good health, you would probably not have that fancy coffee cup there that doesn't leak all over you anymore.
It doesn't leak. I got it fixed. It does not leak.
That's not the one you had.
No, it's not.
So, but if you had green tea, and I'm talking about brewing your own, that stuff they sell in a bottle has very little polyphenols in it. And but brew your own. I mean, you have about just put 3 or 4 tea bags in a cup, and man, you talk about a shot to your system.
The thing, you see, Paul, you can do that because you have time.
I just think before I don't think before I talk, but I think before
You're
I
right.
drink.
You got that right. At least you're right. There's one truth a day out of you.
I can't think and walk across the floor and chew gum at the same time.
You're going to stumble somewhere.
I'll stumble somewhere. But when my food, I always think about now what's going to happen here. I'm always looking at those saturated fats because it's been 10 years since I've had my operation. And so as a result, I mean, now we're starting to get into that world, this is about next 5 years going to be kind of watching.
I do too. I never used to, but I do think before I put something in my mouth. We were at Boomtown Casino yesterday at a meeting. They're trying to do some... Oh, absolutely. No, they're doing a promotion, and they called us for a meeting. And, of course, when you do that type of deal, lunch is involved. And, I mean, they got this buffet with probably 400 items on it. You know, and everybody's chowing down, I eat a salad. I'm like, this is ridiculous. They got prime rib, they got rib eyes, they got sausage, they got, I mean, you name it, they freaking got it. You know, and I'm eating salad and mushrooms, and I'm like, man, oh man, have I changed.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, you got to.
I tell you what,
Seriously, you got to, you know?
I mean, because they'll get those arteries all clogged up, and you start thinking. So thinking green now is fashionable. It's taken a number of years for people to think about that. And so it's going to be the same way. It's the democratic process. Nobody's paid to do that. It's because of the fact that people have been informed, they've read, and people have talked about it. They've seen the statistics, and as a consequence, they've made a decision on themselves. But they haven't been paid to make that. They're doing it because it makes them feel better, makes them healthier. It reduces the rates of insurance and things like this. And so that's what democracy is all about, that you can think as you want. That's why people come here. That's why the Vietnamese are successful, because of they can be themselves and the community, and they have a sense of community. I mean, Thibodeau used to have a sense of community as far as all this, but there have been pressures on it from a lot of different sources, and it's kind of fractured a little bit.
It's because we've gotten diversified. I mean, that's part of the problem as we've grown, and that happens wherever you go. Hold on. Good morning. You're live, KTIB.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Al.
Boy, you know what? You may actually outlive all those guys that ate lunch with you.
You're right. Man, where were you 30 minutes ago when I needed you?
Yeah, I've been listening to you, Paul.
Oh, Lord.
And I agree with a lot of stuff y'all saying.
Don't say y'all. Say me.
But, you know, sometimes you got to really think about some of that stuff, you know?
When he talks, you better think. Don't talk back when he talks. Just think.
And, you know, good morning. And the other thing, like with the Hummer, man, I kind of agree with him on the Hummer situation. I hate to admit that. We sucking up a lot of fuel.
Well, you're right. And my point is, you know, it's what I said. Why can't we have the best of both worlds? Why can't we have big vehicles, and why can't we get them to be fuel efficient? Why can't we do that?
And I think it can be.
I agree. I think the technology's there.
But the problem is, it goes back to the fact, the problem is, it's a money situation, and oil and gas can afford some serious lobbies to protect their interests. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think oil and gas controls the world.
Oh,
Well,
definitely.
I think consumer taste, consumers, I mean, look at the way people buy cars. It's like kids at school. I mean, they wear clothes to make a statement. Some people look at cars as a tabernacle in which they make a statement as to who I am, what I am, and things like this. And as a consequence, if cars were more if they were built more along the lines of modes of transportation and safety factors, and forget about style change. This all started in 1925 when Chevrolet introduced cars that were different colors, and they went 5 more miles an hour than the Ford. And then Ford had to stop his assembly line for several weeks, and then he comes out with the Model A, in which he changed the colors. And then, heck, when we were kids, back in the 1950s and the 60s, I mean, a Corvette and some cars came out with 225 miles an hour on their speedometer. I mean, there was no reason. You hit a rock and you were in the ditch. But this idea of why do you buy cars? You buy cars because it gets you from point A to point B. And the idea is to do it efficiently, effectively, and safely. Look at David Halberstam, one of the great journalist in America, got a Pulitzer Prize for his articles on Vietnam. He was hit from the side yesterday. He was probably going to give a speech at Stanford, and he was being taken by a student. Somebody ran a red light, hit the car on the side, and killed him. And so, here's a great mind we lost because of the fact we think more of style than we think of side airbags. There's no reason to go over to Chevrolet or someplace like this and not for them not to have side airbags, head airbags, where you have to pay extra for those. When you have the Japanese, you buy the same car with the same dimensions, and they've got, 6 different airbags in their car.
That's true.
And so people have to start thinking in terms of safety versus style, and start thinking in terms of miles per gallon, how much they get. It's not a social statement. It's not the fact that, hey, look at me, I'm in my SUV, I'm in my BMW, or I'm in my Hummer. Most of the time, most people don't pay that much attention. But it's the idea, how can you get from point A to B safely and securely without affecting America? It's affecting America. We had 9 American soldiers killed last night in Iraq. Why? Because now last week they arrested the commanding general for Baghdad. Why? Because he's working with the insurgents. How can you go over there and help a people where you don't even know who you're helping? I mean, what are we doing? We're funneling money in there. We need a big reality check in America and stop this emotionalism. I mean, look, now what are all those Republicans going to do with Giuliani leading all the polls? Here's a guy who's been married 3 times. He's had 2 mistresses, and he's talking about family values. What about, and so, I mean, he's for what? Pro-choice.
You sound like Clinton.
I can't vote
Don't
for
sound like Clinton. Clinton hadn't been married 3 times.
Al,
Clinton is going to have his own grotto. We're going to be saying prayers, having novenas to Clinton compared to what else we have here.
But on a very real note, I think part of it is, as far as our excess and the things that we do in this country, it's part of the American spirit. It's part of who we are. It's part of the spirit of adventurism and exploration. I've been working with my kids on the Alamo. Now, the Alamo probably was one of the most unnecessarily fought wars, conflicts rather. But, you know, we had to prove a point. I mean, and it's just that's who we are as Americans.
I'd drop the Alamo right now because historians have dropped the Alamo simply because of the fact, why were they fighting? They were fighting to preserve slavery, period. And the Alamo was Travis. Travis was a hothead. If Jim Bowie had lived, Jim Bowie would have made a deal with Santa Anna. He was dying from cholera. He was dead by the time Santa Anna hit him. And so, I mean, the idea of the Alamo was, I mean, I can go, I mean, you can see a lot of bravery.
John Wayne fought at the Alamo, Paul. Don't you know that?
I know he did. So did John Wayne, America. I mean,
you know?
Gary Cooper fought at high noon, too.
That's right. Don't knock my heroes.
Hella bad.
Al, who you got on your show today?
On this afternoon, you know what? I don't remember who I have on my show this afternoon, so I'm going to talk to you for a few seconds as I pull on the side of the road to look at my schedule.
Well, we caused you to think, and that way what happened, you got confused.
And then you're going to have to make us... The National Guard, he's coming with one of the other guys who served in Iraq, and we're going to talk about what's going on over there.
Tell him bring us some coffee cups that don't leak.
The coffee cup leaks?
Yeah, it leaks. Big time.
Oh, man.
I love my National Guard cup, but it leaks.
Maybe they use one of those military contracts.
You're right.
Y'all have a good day, though.
Hey, you too, buddy.
All right, man.
Look forward to hearing you this afternoon.
All
right, bye-bye. Of course, Paul Leslie had to run as usual when things get a little hot. No, I'm just teasing you. He's got to go to class. Listeners, go out. I'm all kidding aside. Paul and I are good friends, and we do get along well. Go out and support Laurel Valley this coming weekend. It's quite a day. It's kind of like what the Edie White Art in the Oaks event was last Saturday. So get out and support that. Happy birthday to Philip Clement, Scott Savan, Philip Shaw, Willie Toops, Mr. and Mrs. Gibbens Robichaux, 53 years, and Honoré Bourgeois, happy birthday. 53 years.
Wow.
That's a long time. Rockin' Randall's in the house this morning. Don't forget, tune in 2 to 4. Listen to him. And, of course, 4 to 5, Al Carter Live. Got the National Guard on this afternoon. Look forward to hearing that. Listeners, thank you for listening, because you know what? Without you, we don't have a program. So we appreciate all that you do for us. Any subject you'd like to hear about, anyone you'd like to hear from, give us a call here at Oldie 640 KTIB. And as always, thanks for allowing us to be part of your morning. We appreciate it. God bless you today. God bless you every day. Do something nice for somebody today. And we'll see you tomorrow here at Oldie 640 KTIB. Good morning. You're live, KTIB.
Stop being a chicken little.
I'm not being a chicken little.
Yes, you are. There's no guarantee that any vitamin that you buy across the counter includes the product that is claimed on the label.
It doesn't matter. It's my privilege to buy it. I don't care what it says.
You can pay $10 a capsule and be eating talcum powder.
It doesn't matter.
Most countries in the world regulate. I agree that some of these things are ridiculous.
No kidding.
Yeah, I do. But the thing is that if people are selling these things, they're doing the same thing as false advertising or mislabeling a product. If I go over to John Deere and actually am buying a Sears lawnmower with a John Deere paint job on it, I want to know about it. So this is the same thing as making sure that the label is included. Most of the drugs that are sold in drugstores, I mean these vitamins and things, the highest percentage of the product that is included in the particular item is 80%. In other words, if you buy capsules with saw palmetto in it, you're lucky to get 80% of that particular product in that item.
My point is, I understand what you're telling me.
Well, these are Republicans. This is what happens when you get on the far right. I mean, they want to tell you can't teach evolution in the classroom or creationism. They want to control your sex life. They want to control your religion. I mean, this is what happens when you get on the far right. This is a Republican administration that's putting this.
This smells Democratic to me.
No, that's
smells,
what you would like.
I just got a whiff that it smells Democratic.
Yeah, you got a whiff. I don't know where you spent yesterday afternoon, but you better check the bottom of your shoes, because this smells like a circus where there was an elephant.
My point is, I don't want to have to go to my doctor to buy vitamins.
Well, I agree. I don't either.
You know, the problem now is this society and this country is over-medicated. And you know it.
80% of the 80% of the people go to the doctor right now are hypochondriacs.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. And all we're doing here is making it worse.
I agree.
Why would you want to why would you want vegetables used to be a drug?
All I want the government to regulate this $5 billion industry right here, and make sure that when I take my vitamin B12 or folic acid, that it's 100% folic acid and 100% vitamin B. That's it.
If that's what it'll do.
Goodbye.
My point. Wait, before you hang up, don't hang up. See, you always know you got to go with my butt. You stay right there. Hold on a minute.
Go to class.
No, you hang on 1 second. Why would anybody want this kind of control, Paul? My point is,
I think it's more truth than advertisement. I think they don't want that control over. This is going to put a burden on everybody. I mean, the doctors couldn't handle everybody coming in their office.
They can't do it now. You know, they can't do it now.
Well, that's because they got restrictions on people going in.
All right.
Okay.
You got to run the class.
But I agree. I agree. I don't support all of this.
Say that again. Say that one more time. I what?
I agree.
Have a good day.
I'm still working on that name change.
I got you. All right.
Goodbye.
Bye. Good morning. You're live, KTIB.
Man, I'm glad you put the phone number on the air. How you doing? This is the pirate of the airwaves.
Hey, Greg.
and I got a treasure for you this morning.
What's that?
Hey, man, you missed it last night. We went over to Johnny Jam's, and they had a jazz session with Jimmy and Rogers George and Thaddeus Richard, and oh man, it was awesome.
Come on.
It was, and let me tell you what, he's trying to do it, and I wish you would have seen it because it was great.
Oh, man. Next time something like that happens, give me a call.
It was really good. Dr. John's going to be there next week, and it's not going to be a charge on Wednesday night. Can you believe it? Every Wednesday he's going to do it. But last night, man, those guys I want to compliment. Our Thibodeau people came through again, the Thibodeau jam session, I guess you could call it, because they were really good. And we have a lot to be proud of for all the musicians we have in our area, because you can't beat them.
Let me tell you, we talked about that yesterday. We talked about it the day before. Paula from Nichols was here yesterday, and I asked her point blank. I said, where do the majority of these musicians and these musical students come from? She said, right here. Right
unbelievable
here.
Last night.
Yeah.
You could not. We were talking about. You could not have found a place in New Orleans that had as much music talent as they had last night in one room.
Absolutely. I believe you. And as we get older and as this area grows, you can see that.
Yep.
We're still standing tall and still standing out.
There you go. Pass the word around.
Thank you,
man.
Greg.
See you later.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Still can, and if not, check out the game Friday night. You're really going to enjoy it. There's no question about that. If tonight was any indication, there's going to be a fun Voodoo team to watch, and you can get your tickets online at govoodoo.com, also at the Saints ticket office. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Certainly glad you joined us. Want to thank our on-site engineer, Eddie Gonzalez, making the trip with me to Salt Lake City. Had some very nice sushi last night, Eddie and I, and Eddie will be on the road all year. Kenny Wilkerson will take the seat over next week for the home opener, and will handle the play-by-play for the rest of the year. Producing tonight in New Orleans, Sean Collins and Angel Preston. Also Joe Pollitt back at the Bayou 95.7 studios. I want to thank Justin Bassoni of the New Orleans Voodoo and Jay Romig as well, and all the staff here at the Energy Solutions Arena in Utah. Final score for the final time, 63-61, the Utah Blaze over the New Orleans Voodoo. We'll see you Friday night, 6:30 for our next Voodoo broadcast. It's the Voodoo hosting the Columbus Destroyers. Until then, Mike Conti saying so